Got another email from a mom. Man, you guys are going through some stuff right now. It is amazing. I'm going to read it through, give you my thoughts straight from my heart. I don't know what I'm going to say. It'll just come out. And then I invite other moms who are interested to share their constructive suggestions as well. Nothing negative. Listen, we are all going through something from time to time, so let's give this mom some positive vibes. Okay, here it is. Hi, Kim. I'm a 41-year-old mom of 3 kids, ages 18, 14, and 12. Girl, boy. The oldest has been pretty level-headed and easy. My youngest, he's a dream, overachiever. Every day is the best day in the world. Isn't that great? Don't we all wish our kids were all that way all the time? Our middle child, she's been difficult to put it mildly. She lies about almost everything, to a point where I don't trust a single word she tells us. Last night, as a 14-year-old, we caught her sneaking into the house at 3 a.m. after having been out with a boy. Not that we'll ever get the full story. I find myself resenting her for disrupting the peace in our home, especially for the other 2 kids. We've taken away so many of her privileges and nothing works. She lies to us and to her friends. She wants attention from boys. My husband has always been an active part in her life. She plays sports, lives in a beautiful home. We do family stuff all the time. It's always been the 5 of us, and she's always just kind of been an outsider despite our best efforts. What can we do? I'm on empty with this child, and my husband said at 3 a.m. this morning that he's afraid he's going to have a heart attack from the stress of raising her. She struggles socially at school too. We did some therapy for that this past year. Any other ideas to help? Where are we going wrong? Well, first of all, what I want to say is I don't think there's anywhere you're going wrong. So try and, give yourself some grace, right? Some kids are, I can't tell you how many families have like, this one's really a great kid and this one, and this one is just really like challenging for us. So know that that is a regular pattern of things, right? So there's a couple things that I want to say. And one is, I'd be getting curious, right? Behind the behavior, there is something else going on. So part of your job as a mom, I think, is to become a detective. I understand that most of us were raised in a way that was like, listen, this girl's coming in at 3 a.m. We got to put the hammer down. And I'm not saying that you don't have to put boundaries in place. So there's a couple things I am going to recommend. But first and foremost, I want to say, get curious. Get curious about where this behavior is coming from, because there is a reason for it. And instead of getting angry, and not that you've really said here, you're angry, you've said resentful. So I understand that. And I understand the other 2 kids don't need to be going through this, but the reality is she is also a really good teacher for you. So my question is, what's behind the behavior? And what is this girl trying to teach you? And I don't mean consciously trying to teach you. I need to teach my parents, this or that. What is her behavior and her presence in your life trying to teach you? These are the 2 things that I would most definitely ask you to think about. Then I have a couple of book suggestions. You mentioned the lying, and I think that Dr. Dan Siegel is fantastic at explaining the adolescent brain and some of the reasons behind why kids do what they do. I'm going to recommend that you get Dr. Dan Siegel's Brainstorm to learn about, you've got a 12-year-old behind her, so I would say Brainstorm would be a great read for all your kids. The Inside Out Guide to the Emerging Adolescent Mind, ages 12 to 24. Okay. And then in terms of boundary setting, because I think that what I would want to do is talk with you about what kind of boundaries have been in place. Have you been consistent? What has worked in the past? What really hasn't worked? These are all things that I would want to be talking to you about. But another book that I think is really good, mainly because it goes through a bunch of different scenarios, really tough scenarios, and gives you a step-by-step thought process on the boundaries, is Boundaries with Teens by Dr. John Townsend. This is a series of books. There's actually boundaries for marriage, there's boundaries for little kids, but anyway, this Boundaries with Teens, it was written like in the 90s, but it's like the go-to book that I go to for boundary setting. Another thing I want to say is whenever my kids have had something troubling or some behavior or some problem, I'm always the mom that educates myself. whether it was OCD, anxiety, depression, addiction, all the things. Like the first thing I do if I'm in a troubled spot is get educated on. So read the books, start to educate yourself on what could be going wrong. Be curious. And if you need some help supporting you through setting boundaries or making sure that you and your husband are on the same page about things, please don't hesitate to reach out. Okay, moms, what other suggestions do you have for this mom?